Hi Usha, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Nikila.
How have you been?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, great. So today the topic is how to make your child fall in love with books. So something maybe every parent wishes, right? So before we begin the topic, can you just tell us a little more about your background, your experience?
Yeah, so my name is Usha, and I've completed my master's in speech language pathology, and I have been practicing since around 12 years. I'd worked in various hospital setups as a speech pathologist, where I had been working from uh, children to adults, various range of age groups I had been handling, where the children or the adults had speech and swallowing issues. So this is a little bit brief about me. So
All right, great. So just to start with, can you tell me like what age do children actually understand books and pictures and of course letters might come at the later stage, but can you tell me like by when
yeah,
can you introduce books? Because I have heard that even in pregnancy, women start reading to their babies. So can you give me a brief about it?
see, so usually it's like when the baby is in the womb, from around month of the eighth month of the trimester, it's like they start listening to the sounds which are coming from outside too. That is, even being there in the mother's womb, they'll be able to listen the sounds which are there around them. So that's why it is said that when a mother is carrying a baby, if she listens to soothing music, even the child will soothen up, and it will improve in their further brain development, and they'll become active. These are according to the studies. So it's like the more the child is exposed to communication, and when the mother starts speaking to the baby even though it is in the womb, it's like the bonding between the mother and the baby will increase a lot. This is being said in the research. So, and coming to the reading part, it's like direct reading in the children, it starts at around 4.5 to 5 years. But whereas understanding the things and imagining the things and recognizing the pictures and all these things, they start from around 1 year of age. It's like at around 1 year, child starts recognizing the objects which are there in the environment. They come to know that okay, this thing is called as this. They start recognizing the people around them. They start recognizing the environment around them from 1 year onwards, because their neuronal connections are getting more involved, and they start forming imaginations, their cognition and their language and their socialization, all these start from 1 year of age. So it's not that we can't start reading to a child. They won't be reading, but we should be reading to them even from a younger age, so that they just start understanding about the environment around them, and they just start understanding about the world around them, how the things are, and to start understanding the emotions of all the other people. This all comes under the cognition, and even recognizing the pictures and all these starts from around 1 year.
So, all right. So, from 1 year, maybe we can have books with big pictures.
Pictures, yeah, big pictures, a big lot of picture illustrations instead of a lot of printed sentences on it. If we take lot of pictorial illustrations where the actions being done by the people and where the emotions are demonstrated by the characters. So if we give lot of pictorial illustrations to the kid from the younger age itself, it's like they start understanding about the emotions and about their environment around them.
Right, right. And by what age? You said like by 4 they can start reading, but then can you tell me like what kind maybe we can introduce to them so that it gets easier for them to understand what books are and about reading maybe.
So it's like when it comes to the reading from the younger age itself, if we bring it as a habit in the children, like we can act as a role model where we can start reading stories to them, bedtime stories. And if they are not too much into, even in the learning, in the ways of learning, there are various ways in which children learn, like they may be visual learners, and few of them will be visual learners, whereas few of them would be more prominently auditory learners, and few of them would be more tactile sort of learners, or few of them it's like they learn in all the modes. So it depends on the preference of the child. If you feel that the child is not attending to the pictures too much, then we can just use auditory mode, like we can just illustrate it verbally. Or else if you feel that the child is a visual learner, it's like we should enact as the character in the story, or we can use puppets, hand puppets, or the image, the display models of the characters of the story, and we can just uh, illustrate the story in live so that the child understands it. So it depends on us how we bring up the interest in the child to get involved in the story, or to start understanding the story. And after they feel that okay, reading is quite interesting, now I have understood, then he might start up picking up the book and opening it at it, and he might come to you by himself asking you to read the story or illustrate what is there in the story. It depends on the ways we use to motivate the child to read or to understand the thing which is there in the story.
Okay, another thing, another issue that I usually face as a parent is we speak Marathi at home, all right, and my kid does not understand English. Uh, but the books that we have are all in English. Also, she's being taught English in her school, but then when I'm reading to her, I am not quite sure if I am doing it right, or do I need to translate every sentence, or I mean, how do we do that? I mean, how do we juggle between the two languages and actually read out the story?
We can actually translate the thing, because in younger ages we'll be using picture illustrations, so we can start asking the child itself, like start questioning the child about what is happening in the pictures, so we can see in what language the child is coming up, and based on that, if the child doesn't feel too comfortable, even though it's like even at younger ages the child will be understanding the languages, but whereas coming to the speaking part, it depends on the child's preference whether he is preferring his native language or the other language. So if the child is preferring to express himself in the native language, it is better that we shift to the native language, and later when we feel that the child is comfortable with the other language, we can start on with it. Or else we can use both the languages simultaneously, because he'll understand the other language too, but it coming to expressing himself, the child will choose the language which he is comfortable in. But as a parent, we can stress on both the languages, because
Because right now the issue is that she kind of watches all of Hindi TV shows. I read in English and we speak Marathi at home. So, but I really want her to start, because I know of kids who start reading like nicely from age 4, 4.5. And I think because even the school wasn't there for a year and just the online interaction, but then I really want her to, enjoy English books first, because of course it's the global language and anybody would want their kid to learn English.
yeah, it is there. usually parents would prefer that the child should start reading the global language, because as a medium also in most of the schools they'll be having English as a standard language. But it's like in the child, the early literacy skills, they start at around 3.5 to 4. It's like at that time they start recognizing the alphabets and all the things. Like they start associating that, okay, A is for apple, apple. And nowadays the teaching methods have changed, that that is, we teach in the phonics way. Instead of just saying the alphabet, we say the sound which is associated with the alphabet. So according to the research, it is like children are learning reading even faster nowadays when compared to the previous days. So because of the phonics, no, they start reading simple words like daily used words, which are called as sight words. From around 4.5 to 5 years, they start reading simple sight words like cat, bat, and all the things. Using the phonics, they can just associate the sound and the alphabet, and they start reading from 4.5. So that's why from the early age, that is from around 3.5 to 4 years, when we are showing the pictures to the when we are showing the pictorial illustrations, that is when we are using the picture books with the kid, along with the picture, we'll be having the name of the picture, obviously. So we can even start reading out the simple words to the child, so that he'll associate the picture with the word, and he himself will start reading the word out loudly. And then later it will become easy for the child when he goes on and moves to the school, and his literacy skill will develop even more after he enters into the school situation. And these 2 years during the lockdown, it was very much difficult for the kids, because they didn't have the proper guidance from the teachers, and even the parents were very much busy, and they were exposed to a lot of gadgets in which they were exposed to multiple languages. Their understanding has improved a lot of
Five
all
is,
the other languages.
and I honestly feel that the age 2 to 5, say 3 to 5, is really important when it comes to start learning and start reading.
Yes, yes,
And because
that is.
because of lockdown, it was really difficult for kids to cope up with that. And
Mm,
also,
mm.
what do you think about the, like, of course, this is nothing to do with reading as such, but when it comes to storytelling, uh, do you think that maybe encouraging them to listen to, because sometimes most parents are tired. I mean, at the end of the day, they do not have the energy to formulate a story and narrate it to their kids. So like I prefer just putting on some stories on any podcast, any Spotify, Audible, or Storytel, any of these such apps. And I I want her to listen to those stories and maybe start imagination and everything. So do you think that would help, or how is it like?
Yes, that will help, obviously, but only in certain children. As I have said, it depends on the learning mode of the child. If the child is an auditory learner, even though we start on making him to listen to the audio books, e-books, whichever are there, they'll pick up the concept. They'll start imagining. If he is prominently a auditory learner, they'll pick up. Whereas if he is a visual learner, that won't help him out. In case of visual learners, we should just give them the pictorial illustrations, so that they can imagine the things, and that can help them to form associations. Because it's like whenever we are illustrating a story to them, they'll be associating it through in their visual memory. They'll be storing that is, okay, this was happening in the story. Like if we take the example of the thirsty crow story, it's like There'll be, even though they can see only the pot over there, when we say that there is no water in the pot, there is less water in the pot over there, they are just imagining that, okay, the crab is thirsty, it wants to have water over there. Lot of imagination comes into role. So without the visual of the pot or the crow, if the child doesn't know what a crow is, how it looks, and when the water is less, why it is not able to drink the water, so all these things matter, because the early story reading, no, it's like it helps in lot of um, imagination and creativity in the child, where and it's like when they have to retell the story, it's like they should think a lot to frame, to create, to like to recreate a story. Like they should imagine what should happen next. So if we use only one mode, just making the child to listen it, it won't help out. We should use multiple modes so that the child will develop a clear image, and it will even enhance his memory skills too. Like if we are making if we are just saying him something in a visual mode, if we are giving the illustration in the pictorial form, and even if we are along with that, if we are just verbally saying the story, it's like he'll keep it in his memory. It will be the vocabulary, the word which we have said, he'll store it in memory permanently, and later he'll be using it again. So for the story retelling to develop, or storytelling to develop, it's like the memory should be tapped a lot, and that needs lot of multiple modes of input to the child.
And when you keep on telling me about visual learning and auditory learning and maybe different other types.
And others like tactile we have, where they will even feel the things, because this preferences, no, usually they start from the early age itself in few of the kids. Even we'll note individually within our children, if a parent has two children, no, it's like I think even you might have experienced one of your kid, no, if you just say it verbally, he'll remember it and he'll say it again. Whereas when it comes to the other kid, it's like we should uh, you might have heard the complaints from the parents, no, that my child doesn't remember anything, he remembers very less, whereas my other kid, he has excellent memory, he says all the things from long back. You might have experienced this a lot. That is because there are preferences in the mode of learning in the children. If we identify that in the early age itself, and if we start working on it and tapping the mode which they are interested in, they'll come out with all the other issues.
Are there any easy ways to understand what kind of learner our kid is? If say I am not sure if my kid is a visual learner or auditory learner. So
We can just observe it, like in the day to day life situations itself, no, we'll experience that. It's like if we just make the child as if you might have observed when the child watches a cartoon, no, if you ask him to retell it, if he has described it correctly point to point only after watching the cartoon once, then it means that even though it was in other language, then it means that he was a visual learner, because he doesn't understand, he is not perfect in the other language, still he has narrated all the things which have happened in the story point to point. Whereas in few of the kids, it's like you can even use you can even see, like you can tell a story just in a auditory mode to the child, like at the bedtime you can say a story to the kid, and later when you ask the child to retell it, you can see how much information he has retained. When you have used only the auditory mode, was he able to retell whole the story, or was he uh, just putting a lot of effort to remember all the points? So through these methods you can see. And later If you feel that only by just reading the story he is not able to remember it, or he is not able to retell it, then you can even include the other modes like visual, pictorial representations. And even if that is not helping out, then you can just directly enact the story in front of the child with all the emotions, or using the finger puppets and all the things to make it even more interesting. Even the storytelling part, you can make it a lot interesting to the kid.
So do you think asking them to narrate it back to us, so like for example, if I tell a story to my kid this night, then tomorrow morning asking it back and telling me what all she remembers, is that a good way to understand if they are able to get it?
Yes, it is a good way. You can just switch the role. Like we can't force him because we don't know whether the child will respond. It's like we can make a routine that daily we'll be saying the story during the bedtime, and after 3 or 4 days it's like we should say, now today I'm tired, so please can you just illustrate the story to me. Or if the child is interested, they can even retell it. Or else, if he doesn't show much of interest, you can say that now I am tired today, so it is your duty today to read. To say a story to me, then you can see whether the child is creating a new story or he is just retelling the story which was said to him by the others. And over there, based on the points he says, we can even see how much he has remembered, how his memory has been tapped, and how he is imagining the things, how he is creating the story. We'll get to know all these skills of the child when we ask them to retell the story, or else to create a story by themselves. Also, we can even ask them to create a story by themselves and say.
Right. Okay, now that we are coming towards the end of the session, can you tell me like some nice tips to make your kid fall in love with books, like general tips for everyone out there?
Mm. Okay, so it's like we can just go with the child's interest. We can ask them what books he wants. You can just take them to the shop. When you are going, take them for the shopping. Just ask, and based on their interest, choose the books that will encourage them further to read the things, because they won't feel that they are forced to read something which they doesn't like. And one more thing is like we should be a role model. Like when we start reading something every day in front of them, it will directly affect the child, because we are the sole role models to the children. So after seeing us reading the things, even they might pick up the books whichever are nearby to them, and they might start looking into it. When they are showing interest, then our role comes as a parent, that we should get involved with the child and we should start illustrating the things to them. And one more thing is like we can just say them the moral of the story, and we can start relating the story to the daily life incidents, which will even make it more interesting. Like from the story, whatever incidents have happened in the story, it's like we can relate those incidents to the daily life situations. And one more thing is like we can even ask them to enact the role in the story, which will even increase their interest. Like we can say them that you can imagine yourself as this character and you can act out the character. So these are the common things which might tap the interest in the child to read them. And we can even give them choices like you want to read this one or this one.
Right.
Or it's like nowadays we have many movies also which have come up from the stories or the books. So when we read a story to the child from the book, the same day or the other day, the same thing we can show them to it in the movie form, so that they'll get interested in reading. Yeah, I've seen that in the movie, so the same book I have read. So in that way, over here again we are tapping both the things, like reading the book and also watching the movie which was there based on that book. That will even increase their interest further in reading. And as I have said, we should just be asking them to retell it, and we should just encourage them when they are retelling the story, because they'll feel even more motivated to read and to express themselves. And indirectly, the story reading will tap their vocabulary too, because day by day when they are being exposed to different books, they'll get exposed to various stories, they'll learn various new words, various new vocabulary which they didn't know before. They start understanding different emotions which are displayed by the different characters. So all these are the ways in which we can uh, increase the interest of the child in reading the books.
Perfect. We have a participant with us called Hi Viara. If you could just unmute and tell us a little about yourself and your kid, if there's anything we can help you out with. Hello, Viara, you there? Okay, I think.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Vienna's father.
Oh, hi. Hello, sir.
Hi.
So, can you tell me, like, how old is Viara and how excited or interested is she in reading books?
Yeah, so she is currently 5 years old, and she's fond of reading stories. But we make her read because she's still beginner to that one, and she enjoys whatever the story we read. And daily she asks when she goes to bed, like we give her a bedtime story. So she's fond of it. Yeah. So I'm really excited and looking forward to to how I can step ahead and make her, more deep dive into the reading process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, I think, Usha, maybe can you just tell him a quick, you know,
Yeah, so till now we were covering a lot of points, Mr. Jain, actually. So we were discussing that basically in kids there are modes of learning. Like few of the kids, they prefer the visual mode, where they'll prefer a lot of pictorial illustration of the story, so that they'll start understanding the things better. And in few of the kids, it's like only if we just say the story verbally, they'll pick it up. So when we are making the telling the child a story, we can use pictorial illustrations. We can, as you have said, your kid is 5 years old. I think she'll be able to read simple words, which are the sight words. Is she going to school?
Yeah, she goes to school. I
Okay.
mean, she can read two-letter words and three-letter words.
Yeah, so that's what she'll be able to read the two-letter words and three-letter words. No, so now the thing is that you can use the storybooks which have lot of pictorial illustrations, and below the picture there will be only a single line or two-line description with simple words. So if you start concentrating and using such books, no, she'll feel even more motivated to read it. Because if we take a book with lengthy matter and with less pictures, she might not feel it too much interesting. And it's like even after completing the story, you can just start asking her the questions from the story, or just asking her to imagine the things, like if you were there in that place in spite of that character, what you might have done. In such way, no, you can just tap her cognitive skills a lot, where she'll start imagining herself in that place, and she'll come out with the solutions. And she'll start using lot of vocabulary. And when she starts listening to you saying new words and using new words when describing the story. She'll remember the words, and later when she is speaking the words which she has picked up from the story, she might be using it in the daily conversation. So you and regarding increasing or making the child to get motivated to read the story, no, it's like we can use various methods, like um, you can read a story to her not only at the bedtime, but when you are going for a long drive somewhere on a journey, even at that time you can choose, or you can just sit in the garden over there and read the story, so that she can imagine, because in a story we might have a garden or a road, anything, so she'll associate the story with the world around her, and she'll start forming a lot of connections. She'll start understanding the world around her. And you can even give her the choices, like what which sort of story you want to read now, or listen to me saying the story now. You can give her the choice to choose the
Favorite
story.
characters.
Yeah. Nikhila, are you saying something?
Yes, I was not audible.
Now you are audible.
No, I was just adding to what you were saying. Like kids do have a preferred choice of characters. So
Yes.
princess and prince, or maybe animals, or maybe cars, or something they really like. You can see that in the daily life. Like if they're playing with dolls a lot, if they're playing with cars a lot, or maybe just animals. They love talking about animals. So maybe we can use books like those, which has those kind of characters.
Yes, so going with their preferences, no, it's like they'll feel motivated to come up with more reading and more. They'll get more involved with the parent, and even the storytelling part. No, they'll. It's like it will build a bond between the parent and the child, and indirectly they'll form a bonding with the environment and with the world around them too. They'll understand the emotions. At an younger age, they start perceiving what the other characters are, and how are they displaying their emotions, which emotion they are displaying. So all such cognitive development, now most of the cognition develops at the early ages. So indirectly, the storytelling or story reading will tap all those cognitive functions in the child.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Usha, for the wonderful session. I am sure all the parents would have like their key takeaways from the session, and I'm sure we'll make them fall in love with their books for sure. What I would like to add is maybe while gifting anything for birthdays or anything, we
Yes.
can encourage gifting books. Books are
Yes.
the loveliest gift anyone could give or receive. So that is something that we can add to it. Also, monkey see, monkey do. So if we keep on reading books, maybe we fall in love with books first and then ask kids to fall in love with books. So that
Yes, that's the first thing.
is right. So thank you so much again, and I hope all of you guys have a great weekend, and maybe we can connect later sooner to discuss more about, say, speech, language, and development. If there's anything, please download the app KinderPass. There are tons of activities, recipes, and such interesting expert sessions coming up every week. So stay tuned and have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.
Question, just a question from my side. As the session is getting recorded,
Yes,
can we get the recording as well?
sure. We will be putting this up on our YouTube, and then maybe you can follow that.
Okay, and when the link will be available?
Maybe in a couple of days.
Okay, so I'll get the notification via KinderPass.
Yes, yes. If needed, if maybe you can just put your contact details, and once the link is ready, we can share a link to you directly.
Okay, where to put the contact details? Over here?
Yeah, in the chat box.
Okay, let me put my email ID.
Sure, sure. That would be also fine.